Welcome to Living the Sweet Life with Azucar. Living the Sweet Life with Azucar is a podcast by mental health therapist, spoken word artist, author, screenwriter, and playwright Simone Nicole, better known as Azucar, discussing what it is like to be creative in the working world in her interview segment Ask Azucar, finding solutions to any mental wellness questions in her Q&A segment Work Well Wednesdays, and spilling the tea in her special bi-weekly dating episodic Welcome to the Sugar Factory. Subscribers will receive goodies on Freebie Fridays according to their tier level. Please remember to join the sweet teas on patreon.com/LA Sugar Factory.
Good evening, everyone. Soliaka is back. This time though, it's not too much a cheery subject. We will be talking about Sir Malcolm Jamal Warner and his untimely passing and what he has meant to Black culture and Black spirit. In all the mediums in which he resided. I did not know about the podcast until recently, so I definitely checked that out for a little bit. I knew about Miles Long, but I didn't really pay too much attention because I was on my poetry land, and he has been very, very influential in making people think with his poetry. So I gladly will continue that mission of making us think about our humanity and our reality and how the two must mix. So like, where do you want to start with Mr. Malcolm?
Well, for Malcolm, just looking at him on the screen, he was a gem. Black excellence. He challenges the stereotype of black male on and off the screen. It was just beyond acting. He was just a person of excellence, a great whole person, like someone our black young man can look towards too. He was just great.
Yeah.
I'm very saddened by his passing.
I just found, and I'm trying to look it up again. I just found the page that his mom created.
She finally made a statement. She was like, he's at
I
peace.
saw. I think it's MJW. There we go. MJW Living Legacy
Is it on
on
what platform?
Instagram.
On Instagram. Oh,
She just
check that
started
out.
it. So here we
I
go.
think it's the grieving process. She probably was shocked. Now she's like going through the waves of the
Listen,
grief.
Mama, like we are
Speaking
there
on it.
with you. We are there, Miss Pamela. Like seriously. So how it goes, and I'll read it, and then we'll get into the life of Malcolm, and we'll talk about exactly what you were talking about. Yes, Miss Pamela, we are definitely here. Needless to say, our hearts are heavy with the loss of Malcolm. He was a kind, loving man with a huge heart for humanity. He wanted all to be aware of their inner strength and that they could succeed, accomplish, and transform. This was his latest mission and work transformation in order for you to be fully present in your life. Amen and ashe, because, yeah. Malcolm was an exceptional husband, father, and son, a man deeply in love with life, his wife, and his daughter. He was not only my son, but also my teacher, coach, confidant, business partner, and best friend. He was the son that his father was immensely proud of and loved fiercely and unconditionally. He was in love with the magic of being an actor, always studying and honing his craft. Though he began his musical journey later in life at 26, he excelled as a bassist and formed his own band, Miles Long. A poet as well as a musician, he released 4 albums, 2 Grammy nominations, and 1 Grammy Award. At 8 years old, after his first stage performance, he declared that being on stage was what he wanted to do for the rest of his life. It became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Malcolm left an indelible mark on the world and on countless hearts, and all who met him, however briefly, were better for the encounter. As his mother, there is so much more I could say. It would fill volumes, but what I will say is that I am very blessed that he chose me to be his mother, to come into the world through the waters of my womb. It is an honor and a blessing that will be with me all the days of my life. And for those of you who are at a loss, pained by the sadness of his departure, ache for his presence, or just to hear his voice one more time, to see his beatific smile one more time, be comforted that he is at peace, and more importantly, he did not suffer. Malcolm was birthed through water and he transitioned through water. He departed as he arrived through water. This was his time. His mission on earth had been completed. I'm getting goosebumps as I finish this. Hold close to whatever part of Malcolm's life that touched yours. In keeping it near, you keep his spirit alive, nourishing you with the peace, love, and joy and light that embodied Malcolm Jamal Warner. Yeah, I got goosebumps as I read that whole thing. I get very emotional, like, and I was telling my family when my sister told me on the family group chat, and I refused to believe it. I was telling my family, like, I was gonna speak to one of my friends who did a show with him as to like how to expand the poetic reach and how to like continue to have him in our space so that we can be inspired by him or so that he can inspire us into how to advance our reach with the kind of words and with the kind of radical poetry that he does and how we have a natural tendency to do the same. And unfortunately, we never got the chance to have that conversation. Um, so it really shocked me that day, that we were just talking about how they went down to Philly and all these things. And I was like, huh, like it didn't compute and it still doesn't compute, but I am very, very happy that we have him as an ancestor continue to watch over us. And I know he will check us if we get out of line. Um, when he when he started out on the Cosby Show, I was watching that, like finally seeing people of regular life um expanding and in all the levels of life. Like you were able to figure out how you're supposed to move as somebody that was living in suburbia at the time, and not being connected to the the life outside of the walls that I was living in. It was like it was a real nice piece. Like he and everybody kept saying like he was everyone's brother because he was. He embodied Theo tremendously, and it became a language. It became a moment where we knew we had somebody that had our back, regardless of what it was, and somebody that just wanted to be. And so having that, growing up with that, knowing that there's a possibility for you to just want to be, and being is successful in its own right. So I do thank him for that role and expounding on it as much as he has, and just for being the person that he was. Like everybody that I talked to that met him, all my friends that met him, I didn't get a chance to, but all my friends around me that met him were like, yeah, he was a real dude. He was a one of one. He was the sweetest. He was the kindest. He was everything. And to say was right now is absolutely crazy. Uh, But what did you feel as far as watching the Cosby Show?
Just gathering my thoughts. When I watched the Cosby Show, well, not just Theo, but like that whole show was Black excellence. Theo was the big brother we never had. He was just a great example for African Americans, like just excellence, like not the stereotypes, like on welfare, not having an education, being a hoodlum. Like he was the opposite of that. This was the first time Americans see like this is a great Black family.
Yeah.
And he was a good example for everyone. It's the big brother or the cousin that you wanted to be around. And I will always remember that beautiful smile.
Yes. Oh, it fills my soul. I'm now watching The Resident. I never usually watched it. I've only watched like 2 episodes when he was alive. And the 2 episodes that I was able to catch that he was on it, he basically commanded the screen, like he demanded you pay attention to him. His presence on that, on as that role was dynamic. So now I am fully in the Resident rabbit hole. I'm currently on season 2, and just to see the breadth of which he takes that power from being everybody's brother to being this magnanimous man with power and intention and protection. He lived his life to protect our
Hmm.
history, to protect what it is to be Black, and to what it is to like connect to the history, what it is to want to be honest and truthful and 100% authentic about all the struggles in which it may come to, including mental health. So I did not know that he was a big advocate of mental health. So I am even more indebted to him for the work that he was doing that I did not know about. So I am glad to keep diving into the layers of Malcolm, and to see like, yeah, now I know why my friend was down with him, and I know like we would have been people that would have crossed paths, and we would have been people that would have continued this same work. And I'm just at a loss because when we lose people like him, examples like him so early, at least I say early, God had other plans, but so early, it's like, what are we learning? What do we need to learn? What would he left us at a time, as his mother said, like it was his time. He came through water and he left through water. And I was thinking about that, and like, the whole ancestral plane, and how like how the diaspora and everything like that. And then for him to be in that moment, like I'm still trying to figure out how to wrap my head around of losing him through water. But like I think it's a spiritual experience, as to let us know like we can always be connected to past, present, and future if we let it. And I think he did a wonderful job in that, as to also like have the TED Talks that I've been seeing and the poems that have been coming out of what he's talking about: Black male vulnerability, mental health, just loving truly and freely without this new word of being simp. Like
Yeah, I
uh,
think he just embodied true masculinity. You can be assertive, you can be soft, like multifaceted. Yeah, faceted.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I really hope that everyone's getting a chance to learn what that looks like, at least when we dive into him, and like see, no scandals, no nothing. Like he did what he did with a fervor and an intention, and the people that were close to him was indelibly touched. And he kept the relationships from the Cosby Show throughout his life. And every show that he was on, he kept those people close to him and continued to speak life into them. So one thing, if we were to learn, is to speak life into one another, because you never know what we're going through. You never know what we might need to hear. And just, you know, social media is great, but I prefer the face to face. I prefer the voice. I prefer that type of connection, because then I know you're present. And that's how he was. He made sure that his presence was felt and that you know that you had somebody. And I think that we need to cultivate more of that in the culture of like, yeah, we always support, we're rooting for everyone Black, always, always, but like we really now need to step into it and be more present and do more active things outside of just our word, so that we can continue that legacy of being forever rooted in each other and for each other. Because to be honest, that's all we got.
Yes. I
Um,
wanted to like discuss
yes.
um Mr. Cosby when he first got the news, like I know he was devastated because the show was based on him and his actual biological son that passed away. That hurt him immensely. Malcolm passing. It brought back old memories of his own son. It felt like he lost his own son another time, second time around.
Yeah. Yeah, that is just speaking, okay. And then my aunt shared with me the song that R. Kelly wrote for him. And I was like, wow,
Very
he touched
beautiful,
everyone's
touching.
lives, even though he didn't meet them, obviously, and like hopefully Mr. Kelly has learned some things. But that's all, we're going to talk about that right now. I wanted to ask you about what other things have you seen him in, or anything that now that we're
The,
like doing
the
the deep
Magic
dive into
School
him, like
Bus,
that you discovered.
the
Yeah, go
Magic
ahead.
School Bus, one of like the favorite like childhood shows. I didn't know he was a musical artist.
Mhm.
So that, and he won a Grammy. I didn't know that. So that kind of like intrigued me. I'm like, wow.
So you can be successful without being loud, everyone.
Yes. There's a silence confidence. He was a man of like like you said, jack of all trades. And he
Yeah,
was just a positive role model. He embodied masculinity. It wasn't aggressive, it wasn't rough. Like he was leading soft.
yeah, yeah. He was leading, yeah, with a, like you said, a silent confidence, a soft confidence, and he's showing us how we can still be, the men can still be manly, the men can still, you know, have that quote unquote presence, dominant presence, but also allow room for being soft, and also allow room to explore all the emotions, all the levels that you are, without questioning who you are. Um,
And
I
leaving room
did,
for others to be seen. That's what Malcolm has consistently done while being masculine and leading.
yeah, yeah. And his presence allowed other people to shine. He definitely made space for, especially my friends, like to expand their poetic standpoints and to expand their poetic reach. Always trying to help people and always trying to create a conversation where there wasn't one, or to change a thought, or to challenge a point of view, especially on his podcast, Not All Hood. I like that. I was like, that is a dope title. That is a dope title. He took our little quib, nah, and made it into something big. And those, if y'all have not checked it out, because I definitely listened to the podcast of the last one he did right before he passed. And he was talking about poetry, and he was talking about um the expectations of Black creatives, and how we need to show up in the world, or how it's expected us to show up in the world, and how we connect to our Caucasian brothers and sisters, or we do not. Like, and the origins of a lot of things that, have been whitewashed in the current zeitgeist, and like where everything originated from, and how us being connected to many different cultures has enriched how we share ourselves. Did you end up listening to any of his podcasts?
I just listened to the what was the name of it? The Hood.
Not all hood.
Yeah, I started listening too. It was lengthy, so I was taking breaks in between.
Mm.
What I got from that podcast, some of the things that people would like stereotype about black people living in the hood. There's certain smarts that we have to navigate society, certain street smarts and book smarts that we have that makes us like unique. So like we should appreciate that. Like don't look down on ourselves with what we've been through. There's some excellence in that. So and then I think what was interesting for me was the comparison of Black excellence back then versus Black excellence now, which is based on money, how much money you're making, like how much clout you can have. It's all external validation on the things that you have in comparison to like what Black excellence embodied in the past, which was character, how you carried yourself. Everyone had a unique touch of what value they can bring to the table versus now it's the same thing that makes this person valuable. So that's what I got out of the segment. And then like just honoring where you come from because that's valuable. The things that they would say hood people that like they would give it a negative connotation, like, oh, you're come from the hood, you know this. No, like be proud of that black excellence. Be proud of that smartness or that unique value or characteristic that you have. So those were some interesting points that were brought up in the podcast. It was lengthy, but I was taking my time to like dissect the podcast because I didn't want to rush through it. But like those
Hmm.
talking points were great.
Yeah, and that's a good point that he made. So I definitely want to highlight that, of saying black survival is excellence in itself, because we are resilient. We figured out a way. I mean,
We're gonna make a way, like Granny used to say. You're gonna find a way, child.
yes, and it is within our lineage to be that kind of fighter, to be that resilient, to be that phoenix always. No matter what the ashes look like, we are always a phoenix. I mean, to even go to literal DNA. Black women have the Eve gene, so we can create any and everybody on this earth through our DNA. And so that just and so when he said that black survival is excellence in itself, I was like, that really touched my soul, because we're always, taught that black people have to do twice as hard to get half as far, or just as far. And to just know that our existence is enough, our existence is resistance, our existence is revolutionary, just enough. Like, we don't have to perform. Just being is magic. As long as we tap into it, and as long as we honor, like you were saying, the part that you saw. As long as we honor where we come from, as long as we honor the ancestors, as long as we honor our roots and expand them, then we will forever be magic.
Was that the last episode that he did?
The one, it came out on the 18th of July, the 18th of July.
I find it ironic, like, that episode and his passing, just like, just making some connections, like,
Oh, That gave me goosebumps. That's a good one. I didn't think like
It's like
that.
a connection to greatness, like honoring greatness. And little did we know, we just lost the gem.
Yeah,
It's sad,
yeah,
very sad.
yeah. And I do appreciate the expats in Costa Rica who gave him a Costa Rican funeral. I do appreciate that so much. Because when we explore our creativity and get to different places, a lot of people say like we've sold out or we forget where we come from. But he was able to connect all the places in which he has been to still be grounded, honorable, honest, and true. And so to see it come full circle where even the people who've left America and live over there know how that is the importance to send off in the correct way to keep the never ending circle never ending. So I definitely appreciate those people out there. Um, what else? Oh, another surprise that I had. I was watching Grownish. I slowed watching that show because I loved it so much that I didn't want it to end. So I was like slow watching the last season. And lo and behold, Malcolm Jamal Warner shows up as one of the characters' fathers. And I was just like, okay. So you really were intentional about passing the torch of wisdom on to the next generation of men. And even if it was in the like even if it was just scripted in the roles, you still gave a powerful presence. Um and so one of these days I think what I'm gonna do is I'll put together some like really, really powerful lines that he had in that show in Grownish and also in Resident and also um in some of
The
his
Cosby
poems in the
Show.
Cosby Show and some of his poems to like let us do like a gut check like. And now we're in this industry and now we're in this mode of men wanting to I don't even know how to explain it, but it's a different type of man right now. And so having Malcolm being able to be that example of the black excellence, and as you were saying, like his last episode on the podcast was about black excellence. Um, hopefully people are taking note. Hopefully people are, doing that little mirror gut check of like, am I showing up? Am I showing up the way I should show up? Am I being there for my black women specifically, like I should? Like, and how he, took care of Raven Simone and took care of Keisha Knight Pulliam. It was just like epic and profound.
Um, I feel like there's a few like black excellence in this generation, but it's very like it's not that many.
It isn't.
Like
And
Ryan Coogler, he's an example of black excellence. Another example.
yeah, Ryan is, and it's funny because I just recorded an episode with my other friend, which will be dropping in the next few weeks, and we were talking about Ryan, and yeah, like he is he is also another one that is showing us a way to be strong, powerful, and present, and also connected to the roots, and also having your own voice and your own vision, but also honoring all that came before and showing and opening our eyes to like the reality of history, to be honest. Like it's been
History is important, and honoring those who come before us, and not being ashamed of your image, the black image, the black excellence. So Ryan Coogler is another person that portrays that.
yeah, yeah. And what we learned from both of them Cause I did not know that Ryan had that deep of an accent, but he is straight, like he is straight street, and I love it. I love it because it's also showing us another side of we can be our true authentic selves and still own the room and still belong in the room.
and still be successful.
Mhm.
You know, this is what makes us unique. You know, a lot of people try to put us down, but we're excellent. We should know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um and to bring it back to Malcolm, the breadth of which he was able to be a funny man and then be a father and then be a doctor and then be like a friend, and how he was able to show those emotion all the emotions that come with each of those characters in such a genuine way. It was a blessing. It was definitely a blessing, and he was gifted, definitely gifted. And I thank the Lord for giving that to him, and he answering the call to show us how to move in all of those spaces. Because I know there was a few shows where he was like the head of a household, so he went from Theo to being the dad and like taking care of children and like advising teens and stuff. I forget the name of the show and it's gonna bother me. I forget the name of the show that it was, but there was always a little comedic timing in it. There was always a little slide in it, and I feel like he put a little bit of himself in each one of his roles, to allow it to have its own life outside of the screen, so that we can definitely connect to it. Um, and I really liked his his poetry because it is raw, it is honest, and you can't,
Uncensored.
yeah, uncensored, and you can't deny. Like he used his booming voice to stop you in your tracks and make you think. And I said this when, and I'm trying not to get emotional, but I said this when Nikki Giovanni passed. It's like I feel like when our giants pass, it's because they've given us enough gems and enough knowledge to be able to carry the torch and to be able to fly on our own now. And so I feel like he did that for us, of showing us in the poetic world, and also just as a black man, how to move forward with grace and dignity. Um, yeah, with grace and dignity and
He
authenticity.
was truly a gem, and he was cherished, and I think he will be continue to be cherished. He was he was amazing.
Hmm. So I cannot wait to see what else Mama Warner puts on that page. I will be watching it um, strategically, and I will continue to go into my deep dive of the residents and to whatever shows up in my life of him. If you guys don't know, check out his band Miles Long and see what albums they have out there. And check out his TED Talk. Check out I think he did like a Philharmonic performance or something. Check that out. There's a lot of things that now we can look into, that if we weren't directly connected to the circle, we now have privy to see. And I would definitely advise you to check in on Yvette Nicole, um, because she did a really, really great live on honoring his presence and how he showed up on sets and how he showed up in her life as a friend. And as we end this episode, I'm going to say what he said. I don't want to find out on social media about things that for people that are in my life. If you have my phone number, use it. If you have my phone number, use it. I prefer to be connected to you and to continue our relationship that way. of like, I should not be finding out about like big things in your life. Send me a text, send me a voice note, call me. Let's stay connected, because as we become adults, it's hard to like continue childhood relationships. It's hard to continue friendships because you got to work on it. But to be present and to be true, like if you got my number, use it. Please do, please do, please do, because we need to stay rooted, and we need to stay grounded, and we need to continue to uplift each other and be there for each other on every single win. Outside of the fact of being like, if you're married or you have a kid, like let's be there for the wins of, you know, your first script, your first role, your first job, your first whatever it is. Let us all celebrate it together, to continue to create strong cultural foundations within each other. Is there any last thoughts you want to say?
No, rest in peace, Malcolm.
Yes.
Gentle peace.
Rest in peace, and enjoy your time up there. Watch over us and give us some nuggets every now and then. Like I say, when I see my aunt, when I see a cardinal, I know that's my auntie. But please continue to dig deep into what he's been doing and his work with mental health and his work on the podcast and his work on his foundation, and how he was just like an ever present person in everyone's life. Let's try to be that to each other, and let's try to express our love a little bit more. I hope y'all have a wonderful night, and until next time, I'll see y'all later. Thank you for listening to Living the Sweet Life with Azucar. Check us out on Instagram at La Vida Dulce Pod and at LA Sugar F on Twitter, and join the Sweet Teas crew on our Patreon to get behind the scenes access, exclusive first looks, and customized Azucar Welcome to the Sugar Factory merch. Check out our website, sweetlifewithazucar.libsyn.com, and don't forget to DM us at La Vida Dulce Pod for your questions for the Work Well Wednesday segment. See you next week with Welcome to the Sugar Factory and the next installment of Sugary Scandal and Entanglements.